Good Lord, is that a dog? I whispered in disbelief as I approached the small, motionless heap at the edge of the sidewalk. The merciless midday sun illuminated the devastating scene. There, between a lamppost and a trash can, lay a creature so emaciated it was barely recognizable as a living being. Every bone in its frame protruded beneath parched skin, its abdomen so sunken it seemed to merge with its spine. People hurried past, some averting their eyes, others not even noticing this small life fading away in broad daylight. When I crouched beside her, something inexplicable happened. Her eyes, sunken in their sockets, still retained a faint gleam, a silent plea that pierced my soul. This story has touched many hearts. Want to see how it ends? Subscribe to our channel now and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. It was an ordinary summer day, the sun beating down mercilessly on the asphalt as I hurried along the city's main avenue. The noise of cars, impatient honking, and the frantic coming and going of people created that familiar urban symphony. That's when something unusual caught my eye at the edge of the sidewalk, partially hidden behind a trash can. Good heavens, what is that? I muttered to myself, instinctively slowing my pace. At first, I must admit I hesitated. That small, motionless heap, an indeterminate color between brown and gray, could have been just a pile of old rags. But then I saw an almost imperceptible movement, a fragile attempt to raise its head. It was a dog, or rather what remained of one. As I slowly approached, I felt a lump forming in my throat. The scene was heartbreaking. A female dog so thin that every bone in her frame was visible beneath her parched skin. Her ribs protruded like bars, and her abdomen was so contracted it seemed to merge with her spine. Her legs, thin as twigs, trembled violently in a desperate attempt to support her. How can people walk by here every day and pretend not to see? I thought, looking around and noticing the steady stream of pedestrians who averted their gaze, quickened their step, or simply continued forward, completely oblivious to that small life fading away at the edge of the sidewalk. When I finally crouched beside her, our eyes met. Her eyes, sunken in their sockets, still retained a faint glow, a last flame of hope amid abandonment. There was no fear in her gaze, only a silent plea, as if asking me, "Why did you take so long?" "Hey there, little one," I whispered, slowly extending my hand so as not to frighten her. "I'm going to help you, I promise." She didn't react with fear or aggression, as would be expected from an animal in distress. Instead, she closed her eyes for a moment, as if she could finally relax after days of solitary agony. With infinite care, I slid my hands under her skeletal body. It was alarming. She weighed so little that she felt like a dried leaf in my hands. Her body was far too warm, a clear sign of high fever. "Everything will be all right," I promised, knowing it was a risky pledge. As I cradled her in my arms, I felt her heart beating frantically against my chest, a tiny, desperate drum struggling to maintain its rhythm. Her breathing was shallow and irregular, each inhalation a visible effort. I took one last look at the busy sidewalk, at the people continuing with their lives, at the spot where, for days, this small creature had silently begged for help that never came, until now. "Let's get out of here," I murmured, adjusting her against my chest and feeling a growing determination. Your life doesn't end today, not on this sidewalk. And so, with that small, weakened being in my arms, I began to race against time, against indifference, against the cruelty of abandonment. At that moment, I didn't know if she would survive until we reached the nearest veterinary clinic, but one thing I knew for certain: she wouldn't die alone and forgotten. The journey to the nearest veterinary clinic felt like an eternity. Each red light was torture, each precious second slipping through my fingers, while that fragile life trembled in my arms. "Hang in there, little one," I whispered, feeling her warm body against my chest. When I finally crossed the doors of the clinic, the receptionist's eyes widened. Without needing explanations, she immediately pressed the emergency button under the counter. "Dr. Richards, emergency!" she called out, while coming around the counter to guide me to the examination room. Within seconds, a man in a white coat with a serious expression appeared. His experienced eyes quickly assessed the situation before I could say anything. "How long has she been like this?" he asked, already taking the little dog from my arms with surprising gentleness. "I'm not certain. I just found her on the sidewalk, but judging by her condition, perhaps days," I replied, suddenly feeling helpless. The veterinarian placed her on the examination table and began working with silent, urgent efficiency. An assistant appeared promptly, connecting equipment, preparing syringes, moving in perfect synchrony with the doctor. Severe dehydration, hypothermia, Extreme emaciation, the doctor murmured while methodically examining each part of her weakened body. We'll need warmed fluids immediately, broad-spectrum antibiotics, and prepare the transfusion equipment. I watched, frozen in place, as they inserted an intravenous needle into the almost transparent paws of the little dog. Her body was so fragile it seemed it might break at the slightest touch. She weighs only 14.5 pounds, announced the assistant after placing her on the scale. For a dog of this size, she should weigh at least twice that. Dr. Richards looked at me with a seriousness that made my stomach sink. I'll be straight with you. She's in critical condition. The next 2 days will be decisive. We've done what we can for now, but I can't promise anything. I swallowed hard, feeling a lump in my throat. What are her chances of survival, doctor? He hesitated, his eyes returning to the small form now connected to tubes and monitors. 50% would be optimistic, but I've seen miracles happen in this room. At that moment, I made a decision that would change my life forever. Do everything necessary, doctor. Do you accept credit cards? If so, cost won't be an issue. He nodded, a slight smile appearing at the corner of his lips. I'll need you to choose a name for her medical chart. I looked at that little warrior fighting for her life and without hesitation replied, Luna. Her name is Luna. The first 24 hours were the longest of my life. Luna remained in the veterinary ICU, connected to various machines monitoring her vital signs. Dr. Richards had allowed me to stay in the waiting room overnight, breaking the clinic's protocol. We don't normally do this, he explained, but I feel your presence here might make a difference. Every hour, a different nurse would come to update me on Luna's condition. The news was always the same, stable but critical. Those words repeated like a distressing mantra that kept me trapped between hope and despair. The next morning, with deep circles under my eyes and my body aching from a restless night in the uncomfortable chair, I was surprised by Dr. Richards with a hot cup of coffee in his hands. I have news, he said, sitting beside me. Luna has responded well to the intravenous hydration. Her body temperature is almost normal, and her kidneys have started functioning, which is an excellent sign. I felt a wave of relief wash over my exhausted body. Does that mean she'll survive? I asked, trying not to sound desperately hopeful. It means she's fighting, he answered cautiously, and fighting harder than we expected. That afternoon, I was able to see her for the first time since admission. Luna was lying in a small heated bed, still connected to tubes and monitors, but her eyes were different. There was a spark there that didn't exist before. Hello, warrior, I whispered, approaching slowly. To my surprise, Luna's tail, previously completely motionless, made an almost imperceptible movement. It was just a slight tremor, but for all of us in the room, it represented a monumental victory. She recognized you, said the nurse, smiling for the first time since we'd met. On the third day, what Dr. Richards called a small miracle happened. Luna managed to lift her head when she saw me enter the room. Her eyes, previously dull with pain, now followed me with new alert attention. Let's try something, said the doctor, bringing a small bowl with a yellowish paste. It's a special diet, highly caloric and easy to digest. With infinite care, he placed a small amount on the tip of his finger and brought it close to Luna's muzzle. We all held our breath, waiting. Luna sniffed hesitantly, then, with visible effort, extended her tongue and licked. That's it, I exclaimed involuntarily, feeling warm tears stream down my face. Dr. Richards made no attempt to hide his own emotion. This is the first food she's voluntarily accepted. It may seem small, but it's a giant step. That evening, I created a social media page to share Luna's story. I posted a picture of her, still fragile but visibly fighting, along with a brief account of how I found her. Before going to bed, the post already had hundreds of shares. See that, Luna? I whispered during my last visit of the day. You're not alone anymore. You have an entire army rooting for you now. And for the first time since I found her, I felt we were truly on the right path. The fourth day brought a subtle but significant change. When I entered the treatment room, Luna not only raised her head, she tried to stand up. Her paws still trembled violently under the weight of her own body, but there was a determination in her eyes that wasn't there before. Easy there, little one, said Dr. Richards, approaching carefully. It's not time for that much effort yet, but Luna had other plans. With a strength that no one imagined she possessed, she managed to stand for a few seconds before falling exhausted back onto the soft cushion. Remarkable, murmured the veterinarian, shaking his head in admiration. In over 20 years of practice, I've never seen such a rapid recovery in such a severe case. The following days were marked by small victories that, added together, formed a miracle. On the 5th day, Luna ate by herself for the first time, a small portion of special food mixed with medicinal pate. On the 6th, she managed to walk to the end of the clinic hallway, still wobbly but determined. On the 7th day, something happened that will forever be etched in my memory. I was sitting next to Luna's bed, updating her social media page, when I felt something warm and moist on my hand. I looked down and saw that Luna had silently dragged herself to me and was now gently licking my fingers. "Hello, my warrior," I whispered, feeling a lump in my throat. Luna raised her eyes to me and, for the first time, I saw her tail wag, a weak movement, but unmistakably one of canine happiness. In that moment, I knew we had crossed an invisible boundary. It was no longer just a fight for survival. Luna was beginning to live again. By the 10th day, the transformation was evident to anyone. Luna had gained almost 7 pounds. Her coat was beginning to regain its shine, and her eyes now overflowed with life. She could walk for several minutes without tiring, and her appetite had become voracious, a clear sign that her body was working intensely to make up for lost time. "She's almost unrecognizable," commented one of the nurses who had been with her since the first day. "When she arrived, I wouldn't have bet a nickel she'd survive the first night." Dr. Richards, always cautious in his prognoses, finally allowed himself a broad smile during the morning examination. "If she continues like this," he said, listening to Luna's heart, "in a few days we can think about discharging her." The news spread quickly through the clinic. Luna had become a sort of mascot for the entire staff, a symbol of hope and resilience that inspired everyone. Each employee, from the receptionist to the janitor, found an excuse to pass by Luna's room and offer a pat or a kind word. And Luna, as if she perfectly understood her role in that small community, responded to each visit with an increasingly bright gaze full of gratitude. Luna's social media page had transformed into a phenomenon. What began as a simple request for prayers and positive thoughts had become a vibrant community of more than 10,000 people, following each small bit of progress daily. "Look who's walking down the hallway today," I wrote in the caption of a video showing Luna walking with increasingly steady steps, her tail wagging shyly as she explored the clinic. Within hours, the video surpassed 1,000 shares. The comments overflowed with affection and emotion. "Luna, you're our warrior. We're all rooting for you." I wept watching this video. What an incredible recovery. This little dog is a walking miracle. Stay strong, Luna. What surprised me most, however, wasn't just the number of messages, but how people from different places were truly emotionally invested in Luna's recovery. Strangers sent packages with toys, beds, little outfits, and special treats. An 82-year-old woman knitted a personalized blanket with the name Luna, embroidered in sky blue. "I've never seen anything like it," remarked the clinic receptionist, helping me organize the dozens of packages that arrived daily. "It's as if everyone has adopted Luna a little bit." On the 12th day, a special surprise arrived at the clinic. A local elementary school had organized a special project. Each student drew a message of affection for Luna. More than 100 colorful drawings arrived, with hearts, paw prints, and messages written with the innocence and sincerity that only children possess. "Luna, get well soon. You're the bravest little dog in the world. When I grow up, I want to be a veterinarian to help little dogs like you." We decorated the entire recovery room with the drawings. Dr. Richards, normally so reserved, couldn't hide his emotion upon seeing the walls covered with colors and messages of hope. "You know," he said, adjusting his glasses to disguise his misty eyes, "in medicine, we talk a lot about treatments, medications, and procedures. But there's something we can't measure or prescribe, and that might be as powerful as any medicine." "What's that?" I asked, watching Luna curiously admire the colorful drawings. "This," he replied, opening his arms to indicate the entire decorated room. "This collective feeling of love and support. I can't explain it scientifically, but I've seen many times how patients surrounded by affection recover in almost inexplicable ways." That evening, I posted a photo of Luna lying under the knitted blanket, surrounded by the children's drawings. In the caption, I wrote simply, "Sometimes we are saved by hands we never touch and hearts we never personally know." Luna and I thank each one of you for being part of this journey. The post quickly became the most shared on the page, reaching people from various countries. Little Luna, who less than 2 weeks ago had been abandoned on a sidewalk, was now touching hearts around the world. After 15 days of intensive treatment, The long-awaited moment finally arrived. Dr. Richards, following a thorough examination, announced with a broad smile, "It's time for Luna to see her new home." Those simple words triggered an overwhelming emotion in me. From the first day when I found her on that sidewalk, there was no doubt in my heart that Luna would come to live with me. What began as an emergency rescue had transformed into a deep and unbreakable bond. "Is she really ready?" I asked, still concerned about her recovery. "Physically, she has progressed extraordinarily," explained the veterinarian. "Her weight is now up to 21 pounds. Her blood tests are almost normal, and she's eating very well. Of course, she'll still need special care and regular visits. But I believe she'll benefit more from the comfort of a home now than from the clinical environment." That morning, the entire clinic staff gathered for a small farewell ceremony. The receptionist had prepared a card signed by all the employees, and Dr. Richards' assistant brought a small bone-shaped cake, specially made for dogs in recovery. "We're going to miss you, little warrior," said one of the nurses, petting Luna, who surprisingly responded with affectionate licks, behavior that would have been unthinkable just 2 weeks earlier. Before leaving, I asked if we could record a special thank you video for all the followers who had accompanied Luna's journey. I positioned the camera on a tripod and sat on the clinic floor with Luna by my side. "Hello to everyone who has followed our story until now," I began, feeling emotion catch in my throat. "Today is a very special day. Luna has finally been discharged and is going home." As if she perfectly understood the significance of that moment, Luna looked directly at the camera, her eyes now bright and full of life, so different from that dull gaze on the first day. "We want to thank each message, each prayer, each positive thought you sent. You were a fundamental part of this miraculous recovery." The video, which would later become the most viewed on the page, captured a magical moment when, at the end of the recording, Luna placed her paw on my hand, as if endorsing every word of gratitude. When I put her in the car, I noticed that Luna showed no nervousness whatsoever. On the contrary, there was a quiet confidence in her behavior, as if she knew exactly where we were going. Throughout the journey, she remained seated in the passenger seat, looking out the window with genuine curiosity, as if rediscovering the world was the greatest adventure. "Welcome to your new life, Luna," I whispered when I finally parked in front of my house. When I opened the car door, Luna didn't hesitate. With steps still a bit cautious but determined, she got out and walked to the entrance of the house, stopping only to look back, as if asking me, "Are you coming?" In that moment, I knew it wasn't me taking Luna home. It was she who was showing me the true meaning of home. Luna's first days at home were a constant discovery, both for her and for me. Each room was explored with infinite curiosity, every object examined with meticulous attention. Her ability to adapt was surprising, as if she were determined to make up for all the lost time. "Just look at you," I murmured while watching her carefully investigate her new bed, arranging the blanket with her paws until it was exactly how she wanted it. "It seems like you've always been here." It was fascinating to notice how Luna demonstrated behaviors indicating she had lived in a home before. She knew exactly what a water bowl was for, recognized the sound of the food bag being opened, and perfectly understood basic commands like sit and come. Someone at some point had loved this little dog before abandoning her to her fate. With each passing day, Luna gained more weight and vitality. Her coat, previously dull and lifeless, began to grow dense and shiny. In just 3 weeks, she had reached 29 pounds, practically double the weight at which I found her. The veterinarian, during follow-up visits, couldn't hide his astonishment at the transformation. "It's as if they were two different dogs," he remarked, comparing the photos from the first day with the current Luna, full of energy and joy. Our daily walks became the most anticipated moment of the day. At first, they were short walks around the block, respecting her physical limitations. But soon, Luna was pulling me by the leash, eager to explore the neighborhood park, where she quickly made friends with other dogs and their owners. "Is that the little dog from Instagram?" people frequently asked as they approached us during our walks. Luna had become a small local celebrity, and she seemed to adore all the attention she received, distributing licks and wagging her tail for anyone who approached her with affection. One morning, while walking through the park, a young woman approached us shyly. "Excuse me," she said, holding a professional camera. "My name is Mary. I'm a photographer. I've been following Luna's story from the beginning, and, well, I'd like to offer you a free photo session. I think it would be beautiful to document this transformation." I accepted immediately. In the following week, we had a moving session. Luna posed like a true model, running across the lawn, playing with a colorful ball, and looking at the camera with that expression of pure happiness that only dogs know how to show. When Mary sent me the finished photos, I couldn't hold back the tears. It was impossible to recognize in that vibrant, full-of-life dog the fragile, dying creature I had found on that sidewalk less than 2 months ago. I shared the images on social media with a simple caption: "Before and after love." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Thousands of comments, shares, and messages flooded the page. Many people relating how Luna's story had inspired their own rescue and adoption actions. Because of Luna, I finally found the courage to adopt a dog from the shelter. Your story made me stop ignoring street animals. Now I always carry dog food in my car. Luna taught me that we should never give up, not on animals, not on people, not on ourselves. Sitting on the couch that night, with Luna comfortably nestled beside me, I realized we had created something much bigger than a simple rescue story. We had started a wave of compassion that spread far beyond what we could have imagined. "I knew you would change my life," I whispered to Luna, who looked at me with those eyes now full of love and trust. "But I never imagined that together we would change so many others." And what about you? Have you ever had a moment in your life where an unexpected encounter completely changed your path? Or do you know someone who rescued an animal and had their life transformed by that decision? Please share with us here in the comments. And if you love animals, click the like button and subscribe to our channel. Together, let's reach our goal of 7,000 subscribers. When you subscribe, you help us continue posting stories that can influence this world to take better care of our animals. I'll give you a moment to like and subscribe. Now picture a tense shelter team holding their breath before a delicate scene. A dog devastated by the loss of her puppies faces, for the first time, 4 newborn kittens, equally orphaned and defenseless. In an environment filled with suspense, everyone hopes this unlikely encounter might fill the void for both, transforming absence into a new beginning. Could this dog's maternal instinct overcome her grief and embrace these little ones of another species? Is it possible to create a family from the pure need to love and be loved? Are you ready to discover the extent of the power to overcome loss? Click now on the video appearing on your screen and allow yourself to be drawn into this powerful story. Heartfelt emotions are just one click away. I'll see you in the next video.